Jeanette Levy, and thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. We are in our lunch break in the trial of YNW Melly, and we're beginning the third week of the trial, the double murder trial of rapper YNW Melly. We will be taking your questions this lunch hour, as we always do, so submit those on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. YNW Melly, of course, his legal name is Jamel Demons. He is now 24 years old. He faces 2 counts of first-degree murder for the killings of 2 of his friends. They are Christopher Thomas Jr. and Anthony Williams. They went by the names YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. His co-conspirator, Cortland Henry, who went by YNW Bortland, will be tried at a later date in a separate trial. And we've been telling you since the beginning of this case that if Melly is convicted of those 2 counts of first-degree murder, he faces the possibility of the death penalty under a lower threshold signed into law earlier this year. We have a great panel with us as always. Imran Ansari is a defense attorney and also a host here at Law and Crime. He is with us, and Terri Austin is down at the Broward County Courthouse in Florida. She's covering the case for us, and Afi Patterson is here as well. Thanks, guys, for being with us. Terri, first of all, your impressions from the remainder of Danny Polo's testimony. He is the state's gang expert, and he went through more text messages on Melly's phone this morning.
Well, and Jeanette, the biggest thing that happened this morning with Danny Polo is the fact that he took off his face mask. There was another objection by the defense, and the defense stated that his face, his family were on Cash App. And because of that, the judge said, okay, you can take the mask off if you're on social media. So they took the mask off, but the judge did specifically ask that we not show the face. So everyone in the courtroom can see his face. And the rationale the judge gave was, look, the defendant has the right to confront the person who is on the stand and to see what's going on, as does the jury. The jury has to determine the credibility of the witness. So for those reasons, the judge said the mask can come off, but he did specifically ask that we not show the face. So that's exactly what we're doing. Everyone in that courtroom can see him, including about 20 high school students who are here on a school trip watching the trial.
Wow, well, they are certainly getting an education today, aren't they, coming to court to watch this trial. I think that's really interesting, Imran, that the judge said, hey, and that makes perfect sense. If you've got a bounty on your head, you're probably not going to be on social media, but they're saying he is, and so the judge says mask off. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, of course, you know, there's the confrontation clause, right? It's a constitutional right that a defendant could confront an accuser or a witness at a trial such as this, which is a capital case. So I think the judge made the right decision here based on that finding as to that social media page. And you need the jury to really make that credibility determination. So I see why the defense were very strenuous in trying to get this ruling from the judge from the beginning when Danny Polo took the stand, in terms of having him on display for the jury, having his credibility really being truly assessed. And of course, you want to have a consideration if a witness is going to be in danger in any way of their life. That's a consideration. It's valid. But of course, the Sixth Amendment and the Confrontation Clause allows a defendant to see the witnesses being brought in court against them when they are facing such a serious allegation.
Yeah, the most serious criminal charges you can face in our criminal justice system is the first-degree murder. All right, let's get to the questions. This first question comes from YouTube. It's from LOL Chris. I'll send it over to you, Afi. So YNW Melly definitely has connections and is involved with the Bloods. Isn't that for sure a death sentence if found guilty?
So thank you, LOL Chris. Absolutely not. Just because you have a connection or affiliation with an organization which may have a known criminal history, it doesn't automatically make you guilty of any crime. It just means that you have an affiliation. I don't think the prosecution has done enough to tie that affiliation to the murders of Sack and Juvie. So absolutely not. Just because you are affiliated with any group, that doesn't automatically mean that you are a criminal or that you even performed anything in conjunction with their criminal activity. So.
Our next question, Terri, comes from Nia Baker from YouTube. She asks, do you think the state is effective with this line of questioning or attempt at the motive being gang-related?
I do not, and here's why. She is going on and on with these texts and with these emails, and it's unclear to the jury whether or not the number 9807 is connected to YNW Melly or who these other individuals are. They go by various nicknames. Goon is one of them, and there are various other defendants. Henry is, I think, on some of these text chains, but they're naming people that haven't really been brought up in the trial, and they're reading texts that aren't really associated with any person that the witness is talking about that we know definitively is Melly. So I don't think the prosecution is being effective at all. She's not connecting the dots. She's just reading a bunch of emails and a bunch of texts, and I think the jury is going to have a very difficult time tying that all back to Melly, and in fact, tying it back to the crime. They're just talking about taking oaths. They're talking about what happens within the gang and with the G-Shine, which is the subset of the Bloods, but nothing really has been established as far as that crime is concerned. And last thing I'll mention is they're talking about dates before and after the crime, so nothing's really been established thus far in my mind.
Okay. Next question comes from Whitney Jelaine from YouTube. Imran, do you think evidence has made it look more like Gino/Herc, members of G-Shine, did the drive-by instead of Melly?
Yeah, I don't think that the evidence is necessarily pointing to that, but I agree with Terri as to the line of evidence and the questions to this witness. We're not getting anywhere in terms of linking the gang activity to the actual crime. I think, pointing the finger at someone else is something that the defendant is going to want to do. They're going to want to establish any sort of helpful facts and evidence for their theory of the case, that this was a drive-by. Of course, the prosecution is going to be trying to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that YNW Melly was involved with this murder. I don't think the defense, through at least their cross-examination up to this point, has really established, that alternate theory. But the prosecution is also struggling, in my opinion, to link YNW Melly conclusively to this crime.
Our next question, Jessica Ann from Facebook. Did this witness hurt the prosecution's case because of the mask controversy, Afi? Why did they have to have this witness? Why not someone else from the gang task force?
Thanks, Jessica. I've always said, if you have to be masked, get somebody else to do it. I think wearing a mask just taints the entire case. It immediately puts the jurors, it gives them anxiety, and it cast a shroud on the defendant. You instantly think, is this a gang trial? Is the defendant extremely dangerous? Why do you have to be masked? I think that, and I think it also backfired because now he has to go without a mask. So it seems that from the state side or the prosecution side, maybe they were masquerading, great word, initially, and they were trying to draw more drama and point a spotlight on the defendant unnecessarily. And that may lead people to wonder, how strong is your case? But also, I want to talk about what he testified to. The text messages seem to be sentimental in nature originally after the murder.
Well, Afi, we got to take a quick break,
yeah,
so I hate to cut you off. We can talk more about that on the other side, but we are going to take a quick break. Thanks for that answer. Keep the questions coming on all of our social media platforms, and we'll be right back. I'm Anjanette Levy, and you are watching our lunch show Q&A on Law and Crime.